Thank you. There have been a lot of discussion about Medicaid expansion over the last few weeks, and now called the marketplace. We've heard statements that it's not the right time to cover uninsured people. Virginia can't afford it, can't depend on the federal government. Mr. Speaker, I believe we are elected to represent all the people of the Commonwealth, regardless of zip code or economic status. We work hard here on Capitol Hill all the time to support businesses, improve education, expand services for our veterans, and last year, transportation. But now, Mr. Speaker, we need to help at least 1 million Virginia most vulnerable and needy families with health care coverage. These families would be in Richmond lobbying today for Medicare expansion if they could, but many of them are working. Many of them are on minimum wages, and they cannot afford to cut out of their paycheck. I recently read that 70% of uninsured Virginians live in households that at least one person in the household works, which equates to about 12% of Virginia's population. Right now, there are 250,000 uninsured Virginians who work every day, can't afford health care insurance, and caught up in the coverage gap. Did you know in order for a working single person to qualify for Medicaid, one can only make $958 a month, or $11,500 a year. And for a family of 4, they can only earn $1,963 a month, or $24,000 a year. These are working Virginians who pay Virginia taxes. But let me tell you about the people in my district. They can't afford health care. These are working families who pay $600 a month rent. They pay for their electric and their water bills, and then they buy their groceries. Lord forbids if they get sick and had to go to the doctor or have to buy medicine or even be hospitalized. How can they afford health care? I challenge any member of this body to walk a mile in these people's shoes. I would just like to take a moment and share one of my stories from my district. In my day job, I work as a physical therapist at a rural hospital. I was referred a 30-year-old young woman who worked at a fast food restaurant and was taking a college class. She suffered a TIA, which many of us call a mini stroke, that caused weakness to one side of her body, her right side. Fortunately, she sought medical treatment just in time and did not have to require hospitalization, but had to be placed on high blood pressure medicine. Well, the patient made her appointment to come and see me for physical therapy, diagnosed with her TIA, but she was admitted as a self-pay because she had no insurance. Before she finished her first treatment, she began to cry. And I said, "Heart, what's wrong?" She said, "Delegate Tyler, I cannot afford physical therapy. I can barely pay my rent. I can barely buy my food, and I just struggle to make ends meet. Will you just give me the exercise program, and I'll do them. I'll do them at my home on my own." So after a number of phone calls, I followed up with this patient, and I never knew what happened to her. But I do know if she does not have the proper medical follow-up after that TIA, her next diagnosis may be an acute CBA with paralysis. I meet a lot of people on a daily basis, or people who just trying to survive. If this was you, wouldn't you want help to get health care during this time of sickness, at least until you're able to afford it on your own? You know, Delegate McQuinn talked about the ministers with us today. But my pastor teaches me that we're supposed to be our brother's keeper. According to Virginia Health information, I read there are 7,710 uninsured adults living in my district without health care. Like that patient, there are many others. Take a look at your district and see how many of uninsured constituents you have. Virginia loses $5 million every day when we delay coverage for uninsured Virginia. And you know what? I don't even understand the reason why. Yet I see in the budget, the House restored $81 million to hospitals that shouldn't have been eliminated by Governor McDonnell. Well, that was a good start. I also see in the budget where there is $6 million for free clinics and community health centers. That's another good start. But the way I see it, one day of accepting $5 million in federal money will almost cover that total amount allocated in the budget for those free clinics and those community health centers. In 18 days at $5 million a day, we will cover $85 million that will be restored to the hospitals. Virginia still needs that money from the federal government. Mr. Speaker, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about people's lives. I have learned as a healthcare provider, there are doctors in the House who may agree. Good health care is the key for preventing diseases and disorders. However, if you don't pay for health care now, you certainly would pay much more in the future. Mr. Speaker, ironically, as I looked through my mail today on my desk, I saw this postcard with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It says, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter." I ask this body to help our most vulnerable and needy family, for they truly matters. And that should be the Virginia way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.